That's meow. Okay, one. Welcome to the Winners and Losers radio program. Fridays, now it's 7 o'clock in the morning. God, I slept great last night.
You slept great? That is wonderful.
It's the first in a while. You know, my doc gave me one of those medicines for old men that worked better. What can I say?
And it's a medicine for sleep, I suppose?
It's a medicine to keep you from going up and peeing 3 times a night.
Oh, that one, yeah. That's a good one.
Which is a sleep loss thing eventually. So, anyway.
Oh no, trust me. I would like something to make me sleep too. I'm on a 3-hour schedule.
Every 3 hours, there's a animal that needs attention.
The animal that lives inside of me.
Yeah, right. Of your own animal, and then the others, right?
The animal that lives inside of my head and won't let me relax.
Oh boy! December 7th, 2023.
You were about to say 19.
Right, 1941, whatever, 2023.
Well, I responded jointly on our group email. Lucia is not able to join us this morning. She had to fly out to Denver early.
Oh my God!
So,
what's happening in Denver?
It's really, really exciting. She is attending a national consortium, I guess, or a workshop for youngish Democrats, progressives who are running for office.
All right, yeah. Denver, huh?
So
it's a training association kind of, here's how to, don't make this mistake kind of meeting.
Well, it's basically a grassroots campaign training. You know, how, like, it specializes in rural areas and rural campaigns and and purple districts, and red districts, and how to get your message across. So she's really excited about that. She's there for till Sunday night. It looks like she'll be flying into snow and flying back to who knows what Sunday night.
Yeah, the weather looks kind of ugly for the weekend.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a nervous flyer, so I got up this morning, to see her off.
It's a terrible experience these days. I mean, when you count all the security and all the, what do you call it, overselling of seats so that you have a complete jam up, if possible. That would be ideal if all kinds of people get their flight. Oh, I'm sorry. You got bumped. It's oversold.
Yeah, it's not very pleasant. I'm with you on that one. If it's, I guess my criteria is if it's more than a 10-hour drive, I'll fly.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, because then, but it's almost an extra. Let's see, for airports around here, it's almost the flight time plus probably 4 to 5 hours, more or less. Yeah. So, I mean,
that's my 10-hour rule.
There you go. I guess that's
10 hours anyway.
That's where it came from. I see how you calculated that, right?
Genius, right?
Oh God, yes. Hey, I have an idea that I don't know whether either of us can find time to do this, but or both. It would be fun if we could both do it. It's time for someone from the quote press end quote to attend and witness the Jefferson County Commission meetings.
I know that's been coming up a lot more lately.
I think there's a source of both humor and outrage.
I may put that in my 2024 category of list of to-dos.
I mean, they're on.
I
I mean,
don't.
you
I
can't
don't think
always
I'm going
stay.
to end this year with that task. I will save it for my New Year's
They're
resolution.
on mostly Thursdays. They used to be anyway, I believe. Um, at the library there in Charlestown,
Hmm.
and I don't think anybody can afford to stay to watch it at all. Okay, because they deliberately do things like, oh well, let's postpone for an hour while we look into that, and we'll come back. Well, how many people are going to be sitting around all day? But nonetheless, I think just the personalities that are there would provide a feast
I agree, and
of
I just I get asked about it often. I don't know. I guess people know I follow things here and there, but it is one thing I admittedly have kind of turned a blind eye to, and now that I am officially a West Virginia resident again, I just got my license in the mail.
wow.
Um, yeah, I guess
Hmm.
I could take that on as my penance
Well, I wouldn't
or
mind.
celebration.
It would be. I think it would be fun if we did a couple of them. Pound to do a couple of. Even if we can't stay all day, sometimes they make it go all day, and then, of course sometimes the screwballs don't even show up, so they can't. They don't have a quorum,
Hmm.
so they
Hmm.
can,
Hmm.
and they can't do anything, which is I assume is the purpose of the screwballs boycott or whatever they're doing.
So they actually have these during the day
Yeah.
and
They used to
and
be at
sit there
9
all
a.m.
day.
They used to be at 9 a.m. in the morning. And well, sometimes they would go just like a business. I remember I used to go occasionally when Walt Pellish was on it and Lynn Widmeyer. Okay, since they were
Hmm.
both coming on the show back in that occasionally back
Right.
in those days. So, and it was a little tedious, but I was mainly going just so I could understand what the hell the two of them were arguing about all the time. Because they were always on opposite sides of all the development issues. So, anyway, and I just drive around the county now and see this huge amount of housing going up, as well as the prices of real estate. So a lot of people are going to be have to move into another county
Right.
if they want to be able to afford to live. So Shepherdstown, especially, very expensive.
It is. It is
But
very expensive.
and the county commission's the only place in the area that has any taxing authority. The towns don't have hardly any.
Right.
So if you want to actually do something in the county that costs money, that's the only place to go. In some way.
I have heard a few people that I would certainly endorse and support that are interested in getting involved at the county level. So it would be a good thing for us to do to keep our finger on the pulse of that in 2024.
Yeah, because
I agree.
I mean, everyone's going to be, talking about, I suppose, Biden and Trump, unless one or both of them get ill and die in the process. But it's possible, I
I
suppose.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
once
could
you're,
happen.
I mean,
It could happen.
I mean,
I mean,
Trump's 6 months older than me. Okay, so if I was to predict whether I was going to be here 4 years from now, I mean, it would be a gamble. Okay, so I think it's true for both of them. I saw Biden last week. He was at a press conference about, I don't remember, it was something about the military aid that the Republicans are holding up.
right.
And I was sitting there, I was watching it with Mike Diesel, Mike Cuccarini, he likes to be called now,
Yep, yep.
and and Patience, said, well, there's something wrong with his chin. What? I don't know, something that it just didn't look right. Maybe it was the camera. But almost instantaneously, his wife came up and grabbed his arm while he was at the lectern.
Huh.
And then the next day, he had a statement saying that, well, if it wasn't for the fact that Trump was running, he might not have run again.
Huh.
Which I assume that's the way he actually feels, too. Right.
And I wonder if I mean, yeah, I think they might be rethinking this whole thing, just between
us little caterpillars.
and his health. I mean, it is a thing. I mean,
even if he's in reasonably good health, which I assume he must be for someone 80, still, it's. I have to take a nap most afternoons. Maybe if I wanted to just stay exhausted, I could probably avoid it. But although maybe now that I'm sleeping better at night, maybe I wouldn't have to. But maybe that's Joe's problem too. He needs one of those little pills. But I just, when I watched, I was true when I watched his wife come up and grab a hold of him a little before
And that was during a speech, a press conference?
Yeah, well, he was, not a press conference, but he was taking questions anyway after making some announcement. And then he skittered off pretty fast. Whatever, maybe not. Maybe it's nothing. But
right.
It's like those little things that everybody watches. And
I
don't care if he was halfway in the casket. I get nervous
every time he speaks. Like, oh Lord, how's this one going to go?
Yeah, I know, because he does have some malapropism every now and then. But
yeah,
but that's okay. If he could be halfway in the casket, and I would vote for him over Trump. So,
well, there's that. There's
Wait, I'm not in yet.
I just wanted to pick it out. I wanted to choose it myself.
I know. Oh man, God help us, Jesus.
Well, on another note, I have been in email contact with Zach Shrewsbury's campaign, Shrewsbury for Senate, and they are going to come up with a date that he can join us on the show as well.
Yeah, it seems to be. Although, when someone puts on their resume community organizer, I don't know.
I know, and this is
which part of the community.
Well, we're facing, what we were just talking about, this generation gap. To young voters, community organizer is a good thing. That stands for something. It's not. It doesn't carry that image for older voters. So, you have to start somewhere. People are getting older, and older voters aren't going to be voting anymore because they're all going to be of a different generation.
Too much to get to the polls today.
I don't.
You're
I
okay.
had somebody
You're
say,
okay with community organizer. Okay.
I am.
It's like it's another way of in the old days. It used to mean that was you were either a member of the Black Panther Party or you were a communist. So, which I'm fine with both. Actually,
and that's not what it means.
But I'm not sure everybody has the same.
I'm on that cusp generation, and that's not what it means to me, and certainly to the younger generation, it's more of a positive.
Yeah.
And I had somebody say, "Oh, he doesn't
look
like a senator," and
God,
and
thank God.
Yeah, exactly. This person was in their 70s, and I was just like, yeah, I think people are kind of sick of the ones that look like senators.
Who's the guy in Pennsylvania that won, but then had a kind of a stroke?
Yeah, the big guy.
He seemed
Yeah.
in
Why
the
can't we remember his name? Look, our geriatrics are showing. I need
well.
my Prevagen.
I remember Bernie telling me years ago after he got elected to the Congress the first time from Vermont that he had never yet worn a tie. you know, and he didn't. He was consciously always, casually dressed more or less. When he was in his role as mayor of Burlington, and even in the first few years as Congress. But I see they finally made him, adopt the senatorial dress code.
Yeah.
They didn't change his politics much. I see he objected, on principle to that resolution they were going to pass that, if you're not a Zionist, you must be an anti-Semite. So anyway, although Netanyahu, he just showed that's what happens to something like whatever you want to call it, Zionism, no matter how aspirational that was for Jewish people after the war, especially. Some lunatic came along and transformed it into no different from Hitler, which is
right.
One of the horrible ironies of history, in my view, how that happened. It just, God. I remember I heard Netanyahu was a student, came over here. He was at the University of Buffalo in '69, and he made a speech. And he was just as crazy and right-wing then as he is now. Only now he's got tons of weapons, too. Back at that time, he was head of some youth group that went around, beating up Palestinians or whatever. But now he's as you give somebody a whole lot of weapons and you tell them to hey, why don't you be our little proxy in the Middle East? We need a cat's paw, and you agree to it, and then you think you've got yourself a trusted ally. But the other side of it is he's got you too, because you hired him to kill people, and now he knows.
Amen. Yeah.
Just when you hire the hitman, he has a piece of you too. Unless you want to hire another hitman to kill him.
Exactly. Do you feel as hopeless about that situation as I do? I
can't see any way out.
I don't either. It's just, it's so hate-filled. I just can't stand it.
I saw this. I posted this picture the other day. I saw a picture of this rubble and a 2-year-old child and a cat trapped in the rubble together, consoling each other. 3-year-old child, maybe. Needed no comment.
I have such a hard time. The one day that I did watch and kind of dive into the news, and then I had a full day of work to do, and one of the things I had to do was take somebody to a doctor's appointment, and we were in the in the waiting room, and there was a pharmaceutical rep sitting there waiting to
right.
sell her goods
yep.
out of her little black bag, and she was just very peppy, in accordance with the personality that needs to be a pharmaceutical rep. And she started talking, how's your planning? I didn't know this woman. How's your planning for the holidays and blah blah blah. And I said, I just really don't do much at all. I don't subscribe to consumerism. She goes, oh, well, that's good, because our family, there are 10 of us, and we are having a really hard time because 2 of the 10 of us want to change the way we do our gift exchange. And they want to change the rules that have been in place for like 20 years. And my parents are upset about it, but we really think it's the wives that are behind. It's 2 of my brothers. And I just looked at her. I said, maybe you should just send a group email and say, thank God we're not all in Gaza. Is this really important? and, and then I was just like, you know what? There are some days I shouldn't leave the house. It's not safe.
One of my brothers-in-law did a similar thing, I don't know, 30 years ago, when he suggested that there's some Christmas tradition called Secret Santa. Have you heard of that one?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and so they wanted to change rather than everybody giving gifts to each other, you have basically a reduced extravaganza through the Secret Santa technique, where everybody gets a gift from Santa Claus, and you bypass all this other stuff that.
Right.
It's true. Drives the kids crazy. It does. I mean, it's like by the time you're halfway through the Christmas opening, at least in our family, it just was like already enough candy had been consumed to drive any kid crazy, and
right.
You can see it. But but of course, there's so much personal relationships tied up in the Christmas giving and receiving thing that that proposal sank almost immediately upon being proposed. But
I know, and I like I said, I should just keep my mouth shut sometimes, because I really couldn't stand there and listen to her another second. And then when I realized she wasn't going to stop talking, I had to say something that was going to stop her in her tracks.
Right.
And she goes, oh yeah. And she just stopped talking, and I said, well, have a good day. And I laughed.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
There's lots of different problems.
There are.
So I listened to a lengthy speech by Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
Before the Congress. It's interesting. He took the time. What was he doing? Well, he was defending the fossil fuel industry,
right?
Indirectly, but no, he was pretty direct. And on the theory that this is an interesting theory, that by creating certain incentives, the fossil fuel industry will, follow the market eventually to a cleaner environment, and that there wasn't any need to all this so-called transitional assistance or thinking about different kinds of jobs for people, because capitalism just works beautifully to find you a job if you lose the one you have.
Golly.
Oh, the market is wonderful. At which point, I was thinking of him, Joe, you just lost every coal miner there. Every single one. Because, if there's no transition, there's absolutely zero incentive for them to do anything but just, oppose shutting down every mine job. And, I could just hear Cecil Roberts, exploding over it, frankly, and which is a good thing in some ways, because I think it's been time for Cecil to divorce Mr. Manchin. There's not much, even though there's not much to say. Obviously, Republicans are going to win, I think, in the state right now. I don't know how the Democrats are positioned way. I don't see how they can do it. I don't see how they can really. You'd have to.
Well, it was interesting. Lucia had her kickoff event.
How'd it go?
Well, not her kickoff event, but she was in both parades and did Martinsburg and Shepherdstown Christmas parades, and it's just so fascinating that her district is across two counties.
Right.
And so she, in the Shepherdstown parade, actually had a family of known, very known, because this gentleman sometimes puts his flag on his truck and flies it when he drives. So his Trump flag, and but he and his wife and children joined her in the parade because they're going to vote for her, even though nationally they'll vote for somebody else.
You know why? Do they say why?
Because they believe that she really does care about everybody, no matter what party affiliation they're with.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I continually keep putting out there, is if we had leaders who make that personal connection and show like true unity, it does make a difference. It makes a difference. People feel it.
They would like to see it. Yeah, right. No one, I can't believe there's many that are enjoying the level of division, in the country.
Right. It's the people that sit at home and use it as entertainment, perhaps, and kind of have that kind of angst in their souls.
Well, that's a positive sign. How was the Martinsburg parade?
I wasn't able to attend that one. I had work to do in the afternoon. She said it was good. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
And, yeah, she's getting around.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe.
But I think in these smaller campaigns, there is room to at least start planting the seeds and making some change. But it's not fast enough, is it?
Probably not for the 2024 senatorial or probably the governor election either. I'm not sure. Somebody would have to emerge that's got enough experience with the state to know where to really plant a flag, right, in some parts of the state. Okay, because I don't believe. I believe it's entirely possible to expose these people as being, some of these people as being completely incompetent in the first place. But ordinary people are going to ask, well, incompetent what? And if you collect an idiot that nonetheless has the same biases as you, okay, it's difficult to separate yourself from that, maybe, if your family or suffers into it.
And that's where I see the challenge too, John, is how, without making someone feel less educated or
disrespected, yes,
or disrespected around the issues, how do we get across that these people, some of the politicians that we are talking about in the state of West Virginia, are simply taking advantage of the people that may not have political experience or wisdom, that just because of life experiences, and that's what I see is, if there was a way to articulate and really get people to understand, like, these people really don't care about you without devastating them.
Well, I think probably people are presupposed to think that anyway. That I don't think they care about me, but it would be worthwhile to figure out a way to, every time you see them do something that is obvious they don't care, you got to point out how much money it's costing you to have them there.
That's
you liked what he said? Yeah, well, it just cost you about $1,000. I hope what else were you going to spend $1,000 on?
Yeah, it's so fascinating. When I drove out to south of Parsons for Thanksgiving, I hadn't done that drive in quite a while, and just
where is
quarter
Parsons?
age. Parsons is on the other side of Blackwater Falls.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was further down in, I don't even know where the heck I was. It was my first time in that part of West Virginia.
Right.
And about, about a half an hour from Canaan Valley, Blackwater Falls area. So just driving out there, and I mean, I think the windmills are just absolutely beautiful, going across those mountain ridges. And I mean, I was driving on Corridor H and I started crying. I had tears rolling down my face at how beautiful the state is. And just, it was just such a nice drive, and it was early in the morning and everything was just crisp and gorgeous. And, when I got to my destination, it was a family of, generations and generations of West Virginians. They were Italian immigrants that came here. And the thing they're most proud of is they found a way to work and survive that did not put any of the 12 or 13 kids in the coal mines.
Mm-hmm.
And they started a split rail fence like business where they, logging essentially, but responsibly. And the grandpa that was hosting everybody there, and like I said, 4 generations of the family were there. He owns the mountain behind him, and he taps maple trees as well.
Sure.
So he has a real respect for, the earth, even though he logs. And it was just really fascinating and such a beautiful story. And, there were 13 of them. He's almost 90 and he's the last remaining. So he was telling me all kinds of stories about when, his parents first came here, and showing me all kinds of pictures. It was just really fun. And it just made me think about how the fabric of West Virginia is just, it's gorgeous, and the stories and the people. And I just really wish we could get that kind of message across, to become more prideful. I think that's something that our state needs too, is to kind of move up in that category and have more pride. You and I have talked about the opioid crisis and everything, and I think a lot of that comes from a soullessness and that loss of hope.
What about let's take the opioid crisis, which is very closely related to the incarceration crisis, which is the crisis because the people working in the prison, quote, industry, I suppose, are paid nothing. And and nonetheless, they're held to some, very strict example. For example, during the pandemic, if they didn't show up at work, they could be arrested.
Right.
I heard that from Senator Manchin, who, thank God, was outraged at that, but I'm not quite sure what he did about it. But anyway, and then we have people in the state AFL, of course, who are some of the prison workers are represented, but remember, public employees in West Virginia don't have any real collective bargaining rights. They appeal to the labor committees of either the Senate or the House to get, raises annually as part of the budget process, right? Or their salaries. But also, if you got staffing grievances or stuff like that, which is also ends up being a budget issue, right? Why don't you hire more people? Well, nobody wants the job. Well, why don't you raise the pay? Because you're a big believer in the freaking market.
Right.
I mean, oh no, we can't do that. That involves raising taxes, and we got Republicans who don't understand anything about politics except that their job for their constituency is to not pass any tax, except a tax cut for business, or wealthy people, but there are not that many wealthy people in West Virginia. Not really wealthy. I mean, there's not. I don't think we have. We have incomes rising in Jefferson County. You can see that in the housing prices, but
right.
Most
but a lot of
counties
them also don't work here. A lot of them work in Virginia.
Like, yeah, sure. Like Carol. I mean, she works downtown, right, or remote or downtown. And plus, you have people retiring up here, or building second homes, and that's especially in Jefferson County. I don't know whether that's as true in Berkeley, but it's certainly true here.
It is true. Actually, my mom's psychiatrist. She and her husband are both longtime doctors in Baltimore, and they just recently, in the past 2 years, bought a big tract of land up in Berkeley County.
Right.
And that's where they're going to retire.
Right. I hope they don't have any problem getting to a hospital.
Yeah, there's that.
It's interesting. We have a lot of access to health care in the state of West Virginia. It's better than some other states. It really is. Through the West Virginia health care system, University of West Virginia University healthcare system. But they don't have, if you want a specialist of any kind, they're not living here. I remember Carol was looking for an endocrinologist, and there's one
hard to find.
There's one that services Winchester, here, and Hagerstown.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get an appointment for 2 or 3 months. I believe there's only one guy in the West Virginia system in this area that does colonoscopies, and it takes 6 months to get an appointment with him. His name's Claytor. He's the same guy that's been doing it for 25 years here. But there used to be others, but they either retired or they left the state, or I don't know. And try to find a psychiatrist that'll meet you face to face. I don't think there is one.
Right, right. I know.
And I remember when my granddaughter was here and had a breakdown. The only psychiatric help was going to be remote, and she resolutely refused to talk to somebody remote. So she was a very opinionated 14-year-old. But
now I know the mental health issue one's a really tough one, especially if you're trying to go through insurance.
And
it's nearly impossible.
And like, for example, I believe Zaki, who's licensed in Florida and California, and is doing business. I think he's working like noon to 8, on ships, doing work. But it's all remote. It's all remote. But they wouldn't. He was going to have to jump through some terrible hoops to get the license opened in West Virginia. And maybe he's done it by now, but they were making him go through a lot of bureaucratic bullshit, because, you haven't practiced in the state for a while. You will have to blah, 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 blah,
Isn't that crazy?
Maybe they don't want black psychiatrists. That could be true, too. You never know what the bureaucracy is.
Yeah, I think that would be a boon. One would think.
So making these services available to folks. The other big issue in the state legislature is going to be whether you're going to extend and reinforce the Medicaid, Obama's version of Medicaid, which makes the benefits equivalent to Medicare.
Right.
And earlier that was impossible. You had to prove. To get, for example, pregnancy covered or child care stuff, pregnancy care, I think you had to apply before you got pregnant. and by the time you were halfway through, you might get some benefits, and by the time the baby was born, the benefits were gone because and plus you had to submit all these asset declarations about everything that you possibly owned. That most people don't even have those records.
Maybe the Christian right will find a way to extend pregnancy so we can provide benefits.
The Christian nationalism is turning into
stay pregnant for 2 years and you'll get some benefits.
The bedrock of the Trumpist movement. I think it's here. This is an interesting thing that I remember reading way back when George Bush II was running. And he had an interview in which, actually 2 different interviews with George Bush II. One where he said his father's mistake and the reason why he lost to Clinton was he didn't like the Christian nationalists, or whatever you call these guys, political Christians, or, fascist Christians, or whatever. I don't know what you call them. He didn't like them, and he didn't want to make any commitments to them about some of their issues. Okay, and so, but his son said, "Well, that's why he lost." And so George, first thing he did was, and an old frat guy. I love this. That's why George always reminds me of, George Jr. And he says, "Well, I've found Jesus. I've been born again." And so he roped those guys in, and he won, right? But then after he left office, he was on some interview with, I can't remember who was talking to him. And he said, he was asked about that. And he didn't say yes or no, except, "Well, my father wasn't crazy." I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So,
I think,
but that's a problem in this state. You have people that have no place to go. There used to be some public services they could go to, but now if you want, if you've got alcohol, you've got any other problems, they got a group for you at the church, a prayer group or this group or whatever. And, then they're busy, if you got sick family, taking food or doing something with your kids, like taking them off to a little Christian Nazi school of some kind. And telling them how much Jesus loves white people. All these
absolutely.
things. But
a lot more.
Yeah, so I mean, they're very active and they're very political. I see every now and then I go over to the Folly and I have to listen to Bill rant about what kind of weapon it would take to completely obliterate the church behind him.
Well, that's probably not
well. So that what's this Hamas in Jefferson County?
We're not going to condone that, Mr. Bill.
Anyway, but it's hard not to sympathize in some respects. But you see, people that they'll even throw you off Facebook for that.
Oh yeah. You'd better be careful what you're saying.
And they probably should. But on the other hand, but it's just that people are, it's hard to see how it's going to end good. I like if I'm really interested to hear Lucia's, in her own words, theme about bringing people together.
I think on her website there is her first of many videos that she's made, like kind of testimonials. She's going to put stuff out on Facebook. Are you following her Facebook page?
I haven't seen that. I'll look at that. It's because it's really. I think if you could really, it's going to take a lot of imagination and sort of creativity with tactics and kind of things you do to sort of get that message through all the fog that's out there.
I know.
But if you could, it would be a good thing. If she could get some momentum. And
absolutely, I know she's motivated to do it, and I'm glad that she is.
Who's she running against? Who is she running against? Does she know?
I'm not sure. There was going to be another Democrat, but he decided to not run just recently. So, he did reach out to her in person and said that he would help her with her campaign. So
that's good.
And he's another younger Democrat. I think he's in law school at WVU. So that was nice that she has that. So there's a lot of positive things happening, and I try to keep focused on that, John. Ooh, it can be tough some days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, it's funny. Every time I run into somebody in my age group and beyond, everybody just takes a deep sigh and is like, oh, thank God somebody's doing
right.
this.
Well, that's true.
It's like, I think we're all so tired.
There's a lot of activity around, and I hope that I noticed the change in attitude a little bit in the labor movement not a little bit, a lot. Not as much in West Virginia as other places, but even here, the solidarity of the auto workers and others, the Hollywood people,
right,
has made an impression, and an important one, that solidarity is the way to move if you don't have $1 billion.
Absolutely.
And you don't have much power except the solidarity. And so it's so precious to see it come together at all, like with the UAW. And I thought it was a perfect example of the picket line up there in Martinsburg of people who did not vote for Sean Payne. I don't think, or some of them obviously did. But generally speaking, around here, they didn't, because the leadership, including some people I know, I thought he was a little too radical, and they liked the District 8 guy that was here. But turns out his message was, even though they had to do it through that government-ordered election as a result of the previous corruption, I think it helped transform that union.
Honestly, John, that was a great experience, not for the people that were on the picket line and the GM workers, but for me to see, for Lucia to see, for the other community members that kind of bothered to pay attention to what was happening.
Right.
That was fascinating. I learned a lot too, and I know Lucia did.
So, well, that's. I hope we can find ways to replicate that. I know we're going to try to put, for example, this will cause a little bit of waves. I think we're going to put a ceasefire resolution for the council next meeting here, and we'll see how that plays in the state. It's interesting.
Right. Well, on that note, I will update you on all of the guests that I'm working on. I have about 4 people that I'm working on, and I'll give you a schedule when I have dates on them.
I wouldn't mind adding one person to the list. Is that now?
Sure.
Sue Pellish, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, so she has somehow she's gotten the Rotary Club to spend some money on publicizing statements or testimonies of people who have experienced stigma from episodes of mental illness or recovery or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to be doing some taped interviews of people. Okay, that's my understanding.
Okay.
And but we might, if it And they had an article, in the newspaper, Martinsburg Journal, last week about it. She somehow they got it into the press, so I assume it's really going to happen. Sometimes with her, I'm not sure whether, she has 16 things she's trying to do, and whether she'll ever get around to finishing this one's not always certain. But I wouldn't mind having a couple of shows on mental health issues if we can get these testimonies together. And
absolutely. Okay, we can work on that too.
Okay. All right, and maybe I'll find out the schedule of the county commissions going through the holidays and maybe into the new year. And
yeah, do that. I
see
will
whether
put
we could
that on 2024.
Figure out a way to do it, and I think we could have a lot of fun with that too. Actually,
I do too. Well, and frankly, I need to understand it a little bit better, or at least witness it with my own two eyes to even be able to comment on it. So just that in and of itself will be good.
I know. All right, pal. All right. Well, have a good morning.
Day.
You got a busy set of animals to fix today?
I do.
Our two cats are in trouble, I have to tell you.
Oh, no.
Well, the little cat, has some kind of kidney or thyroid issue where just everything runs through her, and she eats like 2 cans of cat food, but, she keeps losing weight. And now the other cat, I think, the orange cat, I think he's got stomach cancer. Either that or a bad infection. I don't know. Because he's not eating either. He's down to 6 pounds. The other cat's down to 5 pounds. So
and they're both such sweet kitties.
They are sweet, but oh dear. Anyway, have a great day, Karen.
You too. Give Lukey a pet. Give Lukey a pet for me.
I will. Lukey's been doing great. Yesterday we went out. I took her out on the yard, and we played catch for a while. And then I said, "Well, you want to come in?" And she looks at me, and then she just rolls over in the grass about 20 feet away. I guess that's no.
You're starting to learn the language.
So I went in, and then I see her. She starts running. She's waiting for her pal, Lily, the next door German Shepherd, to come out. That's what she really wants. Because I see her run up to the fence, put her paws up up on the fence, and start squealing, where's my buddy? Where's my buddy?
No.
Yeah, and that wasn't there, and so she decided to make the rounds and bark at everything that was anything near. But anyway, so that's she's trying to work it. All right, pal. Take care.
Have a great day.
It's late. But everything comes next. We'll be back.
Recording stopped.